Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome back to the Dom Trap. Or if it's your first time, welcome to the Dom Trap. I am your host, your editor, your creator, your producer, your uh your director, your DJ, your best boy, your special thanks guy, your first, your last, and of course I am your everything. Welcome to the ride. Um I'm Damo again. Welcome back. I just wanted to record because it's the end of the year, and I wanted to go ahead and knock out a top 10 list. I know I got a few more reviews to get to, you guys. We'll get there, trust me. But we got to do a top 10. We have to. I don't think I did one last year officially, but yeah, we'll go ahead and knock a top 10 out now. So, without further ado, I do want to thank every one of y'all for listening, each and every one of y'all for listening. New listeners and old listeners alike. I met a pretty dope person, and they basically told me to record in a way, in a way. So, shout outs to you. Um, Shout out to my boy Lex. Shout out to Greg. Shout out to Jut. Shout out to Pruitt. Shout out to the fam, man. Shout out to the fam. Shout out to basically everybody. Shout out to Hiley, bro. Hiley, I love you, bro. I love potting with you last time, man. I gotta get you back on here, bro. Hiley, that's my dog, man. That's my dog. Love you, bro. But yeah, shouts out to everybody for tuning in and still, checking it out and coming to the trap with me. I appreciate each and every last one of y'all. I know 2022 wasn't a very active year for the podcast, but I'm hoping that 2023 will be a little bit different. Got some things already in motion that should make it that way, so that would be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. So, with that being said, we'll go ahead and move on. We'll go to the our list. I got a list here. Sorry. Um, yeah. So this year, 2022, as a year for film, was an interesting year. I will say that this year was for sure interesting. I got basically exactly what I wanted from this year. Coming into it from 2021. I want to say I even got a little bit more, to be honest with you. The things that I saw this year, the movies that I saw this year were, for the most part, they exceeded my expectations. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm so happy that this year turned out the way it did. Of course, it's not like a year. It's not a year like 2018 or anything like that. But um, yeah, it's really been it's been a good year for film, a really good year, and I'm hoping that 2023 will be the same or close to it. I know one of my most anticipated films for next month. I'm not going to say the year, for next month, which is January. And if we know history, we know that January is basically full of like the filler movies or the bad movies. There's a horror movie called Megan that's coming out, and I absolutely have to see it. I have to see it. One, because it's a movie that has the same name as my sister, but two, because it looks insane. That first trailer got me. I'm down for seeing a dog like dance and stuff on the camera before killing somebody. Like I'm excited for Megan. That's one of my most anticipated January movies of next year. But we'll get into that too one of these days. My most anticipated films for the future. But let's start off with some honorable mentions from this year. Um, my first honorable mention will go to the Batman. Now, I know a lot of people they're gonna have the Batman on their top 10 list. Me, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I enjoyed the movie. I came on here and I said that I enjoyed the movie, but I didn't enjoy it that much. It wasn't crazy good or anything. It wasn't the best thing since sliced bread. It wasn't a Christopher Nolan Batman movie. It wasn't anything crazy to me. I enjoyed it. I got basically what I wanted from the movie. And I think that may be what one of my underlying problems is. I got exactly what I wanted. And I think that my expectations were kind of low. I wasn't looking for this movie to be anything crazy. I wasn't looking for this to be a top 10 movie of the year. I was just going into it saying, hey, here's a Batman film. It's been delayed time and time again. There's a lot of, drama and backlash with it. So let's just see how this thing goes. And it's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's just not in my top 10 list. And by the way, let me just say this now and say this here. This is my top 10 list. You can create your top 10 list if you would like. This is all subjective to what I saw and my thoughts on it. There we go. I just had to get that out there. I know everybody has to say it, but I just got to say it. It felt good kind of saying that too. I don't think I've ever said that before. This is my top 10 list. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. But yeah, the Batman. Um, the next honorable mention I have is Scream 5 or Scream 2022. This was a movie that I was not expecting to be good. I'm not going to lie to you. I expected it to be kind of average, but I enjoyed it. I love the movie. It's just not a top 10 movie this year. There's so many other movies that came out. The movie came out in January. I think I've seen it maybe once since then, but Scream 2022, I went into it with very, very mid expectations. I was like, okay, if this movie is better than Scream 4, then it's all right in my book. It was. I'd say that this movie's even better than Scream 3 and 2. You know what? This could well, no, I'm not gonna go that far. I was gonna go on a crazy leap and say that this is the best Scream movie, but it's not. But it was just something to go and see in a time where, this is before the horror movie craze this year started. And it put us on a good note. It put us on a good note. It didn't feel like the traditional Scream movie in some ways, and I'm super excited for Scream 6 next year. It looks like it's gonna take a little bit of a more darker turn, and I'm all the more here for it. I'm all here for the dark horror movies. I'm here for them, and yeah, that's Scream. I enjoyed it. Next up, I have I have Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, Avatar is it's one of those, you know? It's one of those movies that did numbers back in the day, 2009. I was a young 16-year-old. I was a chap. And I saw it then and I thought it was great. Never thought it was like the best movie in the world or the best thing that's ever blessed my eyes. Never thought it was anything like that. And I told myself that I was going to rewatch the movie because I've only seen it one other time besides then. And I couldn't find the time. I didn't really think about it that much. I wanted to go and see the re-release. Couldn't really make it that month. I think it was in September. Um, but yes, Avatar: The Way of Water is. I told my boy Jason. Shout out to Jason, by the way. I told Jason that this movie is more style than substance. It's a beautiful movie. It's doing things that no other movie is doing when it comes to visuals and 3D fidelity, cinematography. It's doing things on that end that a lot of movies just are not doing. Yet the story and the characters, I don't know. They can't get that point from me. They can't. There were characters that felt wasted. There were characters that just kind of got, breezed by, that were brought in and then just kind of left to the wayside. There were characters that I wanted to see more of and wanted to hear their story, but never did because they wanted to focus on the less interesting characters. And also, just the plot overall. I don't want to bang on this movie before I give y'all like an actual general review. So I'm gonna say some good things about it now. Like I said, the the visual fidelity of it all. Um, just the I want to say the acting was good for the most part. Not great. It was good. The direction that things are going in, I guess it's leading to a point, but it's like this could have ended, this basically ended in the last movie, but we're just kind of rehashing some things and it's starting to get a little bit more predictable. As the movie went on, it got predictable. I was sitting in the theater for that 3.5 hours, and I was like, yeah, this is what's going to happen next. And it happened. This person is going to do this. And they did it. So I was like, what can I say? What can I say? So that's why it's in my honorable mentions list. It's not a top 10 movie for me at all. I would love to say otherwise, but it's just not. It's just not. But, one of these days soon I'll give you an actual review of the movie. Now, next I have a movie that I didn't have any expectations for. I saw it on HBO Max and I was just like, I'm just going to watch it because why not? And that movie is Father of the Bride. And it stars Andy Garcia and who is it? Gloria Estefan, a few other actors and actresses. A lot of them weren't really well known to me. So it was just something to watch, really. I was just like, this looks interesting. Let me check it out. And if you know me, you know I love my rom coms. I got a soft spot for rom coms. That's a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I can be a little soft boy at heart sometimes. But yeah, it was just a good movie to me. I watched it and I was like, I walked out. I didn't walk out because I watched it on my TV. So I just got up and I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that movie. But essentially, it's about the father of the bride. Basically, there's a daughter and a husband who's rich, and she's getting married, and you know how it goes. But it was just an interesting movie overall. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Father of the Bride. So if you have HBO Max, check it out. If you haven't checked it out yet, just watch it. It's just something to watch. It's enjoyable. It's a rom com in 2022 that I enjoyed. Next up, I have The Black Phone. I really wanted this movie to make my top 10. When I was making my list, it just kept getting moved lower and lower for good reason. You'll see when you hear my top 10. But this movie was good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I hate that it got delayed so many times because if it didn't come out this year, if it came out last year, it probably would have made my top 10 last year. But The Black Phone is this movie or film starring Ethan Hawke. I don't have my list or anything. I didn't do any research. I literally just, was told, well, not necessarily told, but to record. But yeah, this is kind of off the cuff, and I'm kind of proud of that. But because this is what some of y'all wanted, by the way. But yeah, really great movie. There's, like I said, there's the scene where the daughter is getting a spanking that seems a little bit too real. And I'm glad that other people noticed that too. I remember watching it in theater and I was like kind of flinching a little bit because I'm like, gosh, she's really, she didn't deserve all that, you know. But yes, the Black Phone, really great movie, really great horror movie. A few great jump scares that they got me. One of them got me. I would say one of them got me because I didn't see it coming. One jump scare got me, and I don't really get got by jump scares. I'm a kind of I'm not a stoic movie watcher, but I'm not scared. I'm no scaredy cat, but it got me. But yes, the Black Phone is an honorable mention. And I was debating on putting this next movie on my top 10 list, but I decided to put it in my honorable mentions as well, only because I haven't really given it a chance to sit with me and just I haven't even reviewed it yet. But it's Violent Night. And I'm really debating if I should put it on my top 10 list at this point. Violent Night is the new action film by stuntmen, basically. So it's in the same vein as Nobody, as John Wick, where you have David Harbour, who, a lot of you may know from Stranger Things, which I love him in Stranger Things. He was in Hellboy as well. He's just not great in Hellboy. I love this movie. I love these types of movies, bro. I love these action movies that are done by the stuntmen because they know what action is. They know what we want to see. This movie has a fight towards the beginning of the movie that I absolutely love that involves a star on top of a Christmas tree. By the way, Violent Night it's an action film where, like I said, David Harbour, he plays Santa Claus. And there's a family that is basically being held hostage because they're rich, of course. And the family, they're not really great people, but Santa Claus is. And there's a sweet little girl by the name of Trudy Lightstone, and she's in there, and she still believes in Santa. It just so happens that Santa is in the house as they're being held captive. She picks up a walkie-talkie. She talks into it. Santa Claus hears it, and that basically sets the movie off. It's basically it's basically the Santa Claus meets Die Hard meets Home Alone in a way, and they say that in the movie. But yes, I love Violent Night. I have to see it again. If I see it again, it may end up creeping up into my top 10. I'm not gonna lie to you. Uh, so go see that, by the way. If you haven't seen it yet, that's the movie that really got me into the Christmas spirit this year. Um, More recently, I haven't been in the Christmas spirit or anything, but yeah, this one did it. You know, I felt a little bit more merry than normal when this movie came out. Now, next, let's go ahead and get into the top 10. Let's get to the top 10. Top 10 movies of my top 10 list of 2022. Number 10 goes to Nope, the new film by Jordan Peele. Now, going into this movie, I was a little bit skeptical because, of course, he made Get Out, which Get Out is a certified hood classic. Not even a hood classic. It's almost a classic in a lot of people's eyes. That's a movie that's gonna go for a long, long time of being watched. Just because it was just something that we hadn't. I mean, we've seen similar films, of course, but nothing to that measure. It had been a long time before with Get Out anyway. It'd been a long time since I went to a theater and everyone audibly reacted to the same things in a similar way. I love Get Out. Us, on the other hand, not as good, but still a good movie overall. I love that, it kind of required multiple watchings, but I totally understand the people that only wanted to watch it once and never watched it again. I totally get that. So that movie was a little bit more divisive. So going into this movie, I'm like, okay, for me, he's 2 for 2. Can he go 3 for 3? And in my eyes, Jordan Peele did it. He actually went 3 for 3 this time. Now, this movie stars Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer, and it's basically about them hunting down an alien after the alien, or a spaceship rather, after it inadvertently kills their father. They're just basically trying to figure out what the freak is happening and trying to profit to make money so they can keep their ranch. Well, that's Daniel Kaluuya's. That's his whole thing. That's his motive. And Kiki Palmer, his sister, whose name is Emerald, she is trying to basically get fame from the from getting it from getting the footage captured and everything like that. That's her whole big thing. So they're trying to get money and fame, which are, I want to say they're kind of average motives for most movie characters. That's what they want anyway. So it was. It's a really good movie, spectacle wise, cinematography wise, everything makes sense. One moment, gotta have my agua. But yes, everything makes sense in the movie. Everything lines up. It ends on a good note. It's just a good. I want to say it was a little bit over 2 hours. It was just a good movie to watch, and that's what I love the most about it. I just wanted a movie to watch, and I got exactly that. Just got a full story in that time limit. I didn't have to do like any other watchings. It felt right. The movie just felt right, and it hit. It hit. That was the most important thing. And now that I'm thinking about it, I am going to put Violent Night in my top 10. Violent Night will take my number 9 slot. I know I just talked about it, but you just can't go wrong with David Harbour as Santa Claus beating the mess out of people that are worse than the people that you're trying to save. You can't go wrong. There's just so much that went right in the movie. So much that went right. So yes, Violent Night takes the number 9 slot. It has to. I'm sorry. I thought about it as I was doing that Nope review, I guess. And yes, Violent Night takes the number 9 slot. Now, for the number 8 slot, this one goes to a movie that I almost forgot came out this year. I feel like this year was very long and very short at the same time. This one goes to The Northman. And The Northman is another one of those movies that's just a movie. You know, there's no prequel, there's no sequel, there's no comic books that you need to read to understand the full story. It's just a story wrapped up in a really decent amount of time. It wraps up with a pretty nice little bow at the end. There's no interpretation that needs to take place. It's just a character piece almost, in a way. Now, a lot of people may say this a little bit basic because the main character is one of those protagonists that don't really say a lot. They just do things. You know, we don't really get to see what they're thinking. There's no inner monologues or anything. There's no narration. It's just the movie moving, basically. The film is filming in this movie, and I loved every little bit of it. I believe his name is Alexander Skarsgård. I believe. I know I'm messing up. I should look this up before, but it's okay. We're gonna get there. And Anya Taylor Joy, they do a fantastic job. Nicole Kidman plays the mother. Willem Dafoe, he plays a shaman type character, and I thought he would have a little bit more screen time because what he did with his performance was kind of nuts. And this is an A24 film, by the way, so you know it had to make my top 10. At least one A24 film is going to make my top 10 of just about each year. And that's crazy to think about, but hey, that's the world we live in. um, I loved it. I loved The Northman. I have to see it again. It's been a while since I've seen it, but like as I was seeing what came out this year, I'm like, oh, The Northman. I loved it. It has to be on here. So, yes, that's gonna be the number 8 slot. That goes to The Northman. Now, number 7 is one that I knew was gonna make my top 10. I told my boy Lynn over there on the Bros Who Think podcast. I told him that this movie was gonna be better than The Gray Man, and he said, "No, you're wrong." And then when both movies came out, he messaged me and he was like, "Damo, you're right. You're right, Damo. Bullet Train was better than The Gray Man." And that's why I say number 7 goes to Bullet Train. Now, this was a movie I knew was going to be just full of balls to the wall nonsense. It's just going to be similar to Smoking Aces. It's got all these actors in this confined space, which is the Bullet Train, doing things. And I'm like, I like just about every last one of these actors. I'm going to see this movie and I'm going to love it, no matter if it's like terrible or what. And it just happened to be a great action movie on top of all that. There's always that sense of mystery throughout the movie as well, which kind of, keeps you enthralled and keeps you engaged. And then, of course, the events that transpire on the train and even outside of the train. It's like, I love it. I love it. I love Bullet Train. Sorry. But yes, I love Bullet Train. I had to see it again. I know it's on Netflix. So if you have Netflix and you want to watch a good action movie that takes place on a bullet train, watch Bullet Train. That's all I had to say. I loved it. Brian Tyree Henry's in it. Brad Pitt. Sandra Bullock's in it for a little while. Michael Douglas. What's her name? Chloe King, I think her name. Joey King. That's her name. And I forgot the Japanese guy that was in Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe movie this past time. Andrew Koji is his name. Sorry, I got his name right. Andrew Koji, Hiroyuki Sanada is in it. Really good movie. It hit the notes that needed to be hit perfectly. I just wanted to go into the movie, see people on a train basically trying to kill each other, and that's exactly what I got. I loved it. Bullet Train takes the number 7 slot on my list. Number 6. Number 6 goes to a movie I just saw a few weeks ago. I saw it in the theaters, actually, but it's actually on Netflix now. It was a Netflix movie, but they released it in limited, theaters, so I just had to go see it in theaters. I saw the first movie, well, the movie that it derived from. I'm not going to say the first movie. The movie that it derived from, which is Knives Out. And I knew I had to see this one. Once I saw the cast, I knew I was in. Once I seen Edward Norton, once I saw Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, I'm like, wait a minute, they are onto something. Katherine Hahn, everybody loves Katherine Hahn at the moment. This movie is Glass Onion, by the way, a Knives Out story, I think it's called. But yes, Glass Onion takes my number 6 slot. It's Ryan Johnson. Listen, Ryan Johnson directed my least favorite Star Wars movie. Yes, The Last Jedi is my least favorite Star Wars movie. He directed that, and he turns around and he does Knives Out, which was one of my favorite movies of 20. I think that was 2019, I believe. I believe whatever year it came out, that was one of my favorite movies. Now, I knew that he was going to hit again. I knew he was. There's no way he could miss, and he hit. Glass Onion is it's a great time. It's another murder mystery where you this time it's a little bit different. It's really it's a little bit different. You have a character who plans his death and tries to basically pin it on someone. Murder mystery. He thinks of it as a game, but things go in a way that you don't really think they would go. This movie expects you to believe certain things and then jerks you back and then pulls another thing out of nowhere, and then you just have to say, okay, that was it. And then around the midpoint of the movie, you're like, okay, yeah, this is way different than what I was expecting. And I love that about the movie. I love that it just kept like I wasn't gonna say that I was confused, but they kept introducing new elements to the story. And it worked. It all just worked. The cast worked, the cinematography worked, the dumb scenes, not the dumb scenes, but the scenes that didn't really, make the movie anything crazy worked. The scenes that were just, oh, this is a little thing here. The cameos were just dumb. I loved all the cameos. Glass Onion is just a lot of fun. If you want to just watch a movie that is just fun, and if you love Knives Out, Glass Onion will be for you. And that's why it takes my number 6 slot. So now, um, we are getting to the nitty gritty. We're getting to the top 5. My top 5 films of the year. And this was fun. I had to think about these. I had to. And for good reason. For good reason though. Number 5 goes to The Menu. I don't believe I've talked about this movie on the podcast yet. I need to. It's a film starring Ralph Fiennes, I believe is his name, the guy that played Voldemort in Harry Potter. It has Hong Chow, who was in The Watchmen. It has Anya Taylor-Joy again, making another movie in my top 10 list. It has what's the guy's name? I have to look him up. I'm sorry, I have to. But he played Beast in the X-Men, the new X-Men movies. Let's see. Sorry, I'm blanking on this guy's name because he has a very familiar face to me now, but not his name is otherwise. Nicholas Hoult is his name. Nicholas Hoult. It also has Janet McTeer, who I haven't seen a lot of, besides her being in Ozark, which was kind of cool because I hated her character in Ozark. So seeing her in this movie, I was like, okay, cool. Another character that I know that I will dislike, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. Paul Adelstein and John Leguizamo as well, and Rob Yang, and they are basically a bunch of people. I want to say spoiled in a way. They get invited to go to this island to try this chef's beautiful food, and all the food has meaning and so forth. And they just think that they're gonna have the greatest time of their life. But things don't really go that way. It's a little bit of a thriller. Uh I didn't know what to expect from this movie, and I'm glad I got what I got. This movie feels like an A20. It's not I don't think it's an A24 film, but it feels like that to its core. It has a lot of those elements where it does things to make you really feel something. It gives you that point in the movie where you're like, if I was in this situation, what would I do? You know? And I love that. I love that it just did it. Some of the themes were hilarious to me. There's one scene where he's like, you can get off the island if you run away from my guys, my other chefs here. And he's like, on the count of 3, I'm gonna let you all go. And he goes 3, and one dude just takes off into the forest. And he's like, all right, I guess the countdown begins now. And everybody else just kind of scatters and runs. But yes, I enjoyed every last piece of this movie. I just realized I haven't had my lights on this whole time. Sorry about that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the menu. You will too. I, if it doesn't matter who you are, I feel like with my top five, you will enjoy these movies. You have to. If you are a fan of film, you will enjoy my top five. And that's just because I think my top five is just that good, no matter what. But yes, the menu takes my number five slot. Number four goes to my first Bollywood film. I've never seen a Bollywood film before this movie. And this movie is RRR, which stands for, let me get this right. I have to get this right. I'm sorry. This movie is off the walls. It has a message. It yes, it's just I can't even get the words out right now. When I saw it, I kept seeing people talk about it, and I'm like, okay, what is the whole thing about this? What is this whole movie? And yes, it just it blew me away in a way. It's just a movie about it's about the Indian people. There's just a lot of themes that happen, but along with those themes, there's a lot of action. Now the action is where it got me. There's a scene where a dude is like he's on a motorcycle and he has like this rifle. And like while he's in the air on this motorcycle, he does like a full 180 and shoots someone with the rifle. And it's just balls to the wall action. There's like a tiger fight scene. There's a scene where they're like it's two guys. They're like flying in the air over a bridge trying to save this kid. And they save the kid, and then they grab the flag, and then that's how they basically survive. They go into the water. It's really good. It's the most expensive Indian film to date. Um, it's supposed to come out 2 years ago, but then it released this year. But yes, it starts off in 1920. It says here during the British Raj, Minister Scott Buxton and his wife Catherine visit a forest in Adilabad where they abduct Molly, a young girl. Yeah, so yes, there's for sure a story. Now, like I said, the story is there, but where this movie shines is its action scenes. There's a really well done dance scene that I was like, wow, these dudes are really cutting it up, and it's a really good film. It's a really good film. It is 3 hours long, so be ready for that. Um, let's see. I'm trying to find the what RRR actually means. Let's see. Rise, roar, and revolt. That's what it was. I almost had them backwards. But yes, rise, rise, roar, and revolt. And just watch it. Just watch it. I believe it's on Netflix. RRR takes my number four slot of my top 22 films of 2022. My top 10 films of 2022. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but just watch it. You'll enjoy it. Number three, top three, top three, top three. Ah, I wanted this movie to be better than the original, and it was in just about every single way. I hadn't seen the first Top Gun movie ever until maybe a few weeks before I saw Top Gun Maverick. And I watched it, and I'm like, bro, this can't be what people been going crazy about for the past 40 years. There's no way. I was like, this is the most 80s movie in the world. There's no way that people have been just going crazy about this movie for 40 years. And I think that the same may be said about this movie, Top Gun Maverick. This movie is it's Tom Cruise, man. I love Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise can be a little bit of a dickhead sometimes. He can be a little rude. He can be a perfectionist. He can be that person that you just dislike. But when it comes to acting in movies and doing action scenes, nobody is doing it like Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. He does his thing in this movie. I love him in Mission Impossible. I loved him in this. I would say the first Top Gun. I feel like he didn't have a lot to do in the first Top Gun compared to this movie. You can just tell that he wants to be here. It makes sense that you hear all these stories about him arguing with people and him delaying the movie because he wants it to be perfect and wants all these reshoots done. And it all made up for it. It all made up for it to be a better movie. This movie did crazy numbers in the box office. I don't have this particular. I don't have the number right here in front of me, but this movie was in theaters for like 8 months. I swear. Well, no, I'm not gonna say 8 months. I'm gonna say this movie was in theaters for like really, honestly, like 4 months. This movie was in theaters since from like July to around October or November, just so it could just keep making money. They had the money to keep it in theaters, so it's like, hey, why not? People are wanting to see this movie over and over and over again, and they did. Now, I first saw this movie in standard 2D, and I loved it. And I was like, okay, I have to go and see this movie in IMAX. And I went to go see this movie in IMAX, and I loved it even more. I wanted to see it in IMAX originally, but there just were not seats available, and it sucked. You know, I like having a room when I go to the movies, so yeah, that didn't work for me. But yes, this movie is it's one of those. If you know what Top Gun is, this movie is just Top Gun on steroids. It's young, uh, it's young soldiers in the Air Force that get in jets and they fly the jets and they learn how to fly the jets and it's almost, I don't want to say sensory overload, but there's just so much going on in the action scenes, and it's like yes, 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 yes. The characters are likable. There are a few cameos. Well, there's a cameo in particular that I did not expect to see. Tom Cruise does the Tom Cruise things, you know. Tom Cruise swoops in, he makes the soldiers better, he gets the girl, and he rides home on a bike. You know, that's what Tom Cruise does. This movie is that, and I love Top Gun Maverick. I love Top Gun Maverick. I didn't think, well, before I saw, I didn't think it was gonna make any of my top 10 list, but yes, this is a phenomenal movie. I have to see it again. I loved it. I don't want to spoil a lot for you, but yes, Top Gun Maverick. If you haven't seen it yet, which I'm surprised because there's been time and time again to see it, do check it out. Um, number two, my number two movie of 2022 goes to Barbarian. Now, I don't think I've given a review of this movie either, for good reason. Go into this movie not knowing anything. If you have HBO Max, just sit down. If you It's a horror movie, let me just say that. Search Barbarian and just watch it. I saw this movie and I didn't know what to expect. I barely saw any trailers or anything. I hardly saw anyone talk about it. And the marketing is hilarious too. I didn't realize this until after I saw the movie. But if you searched it up, you would see an ad that said Justin Long's new horror movie. And it starts off with Justin Long, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how they pulled this off. I do know how they pulled this off, but I loved how this movie spread due to word of mouth. I went to go see it because I just saw it was playing, and I was like, okay, I want to be spooked. My favorite horror movie last year was *Malignant*, and it wasn't even a crazy horror movie. It was super campy, and this movie, in a way, reminds me a lot of that campiness. This is another movie. I was just in the theater watching it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, this takes it. I have to see this again next week. That's literally what I did. I saw it. I called my boy Dylan, and I'm like, hey, are you busy? I got my sister, and we just went to go and watch it. I loved it. I loved it. It came out on HBO Max again recently, and I had to watch it again. Barbarian is one of those. It's a movie that I didn't understand why it's called Barbarian until I saw it for the third time, which is crazy. It hit me, and I'm like, oh, that's why it's called Barbarian. I love it. I love it. Watch Barbarian. If you're not doing anything else with your life, watch Barbarian. Now, for my number one movie of 2022, I'm not a big purchaser of Blu-ray. Sorry, I just dropped my iPad. I'm not a big purchaser of Blu-ray discs. I have maybe 10 Blu-ray movies. I haven't really been a physical collector. I've been more of a digital collector recently. Um, but yes, my number one movie of 2022 is a very special movie to me because it reminds me of several of my favorite movies from my childhood. One of those being Kung Pao Into the Fist. One of those being Shaolin Soccer. Um, yes, it's in the same vein as those movies in a way, but this movie has more heart and better action than those movies. And this movie goes to, I mean, this number one spot goes to. I know it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, there we go. Everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. This is my favorite movie of the year. I thought about this long and hard. Pause. I thought about it long and hard. Pause. But yes, this piece of work right here is my favorite movie of the year. This is a movie where I had zero expectations. I just knew that it was a multiverse movie, and it was directed by the duo called Daniels. I think both of their first names are Daniel. And I just didn't have a ton of expectations for it. I just wanted to go and see another movie. But what I got was not what I was expecting. This movie is about family. It has a point where, you think about existence and life in itself. And I didn't expect to go into the movie theater thinking about that when I went to go see this movie. I thought it was just gonna be a cool, kind of kung fu fighting action movie about the multiverse. But it turned out to be more than that. Turned out to be a little bit more about that. Like I said, it was about family. Your parents and other loved ones setting expectations. Um, it's about family curse, generational curses. Uh, it's about the work world. It has a lot of themes. It's about love. More importantly, it's about love. Uh, there are a few moments where I was like sitting back in my seat, like, golly, this movie's still going, and I don't want it to. I don't want it to end. I just want it to keep going, and it just keeps going. It's a beautiful movie. I will say that too. A very beautiful movie. It's very well shot. Uh, it's like everyone knew the assignment and they just did it. It's just a movie where everything works. There's not a single thing in this movie that doesn't work for me. I'm not saying that it's the greatest movie of all time, but when it comes to 2022, this year that we just went through in life, this is the best film that we've gotten media wise. And I mean, I would say that it's close. There are a lot of movies that are good, but none like this. None like this. I've seen this movie several times. Like I said, I even bought the Blu-ray. I don't even buy Blu-rays. So, yes. And I knew that when I saw it, I was like, yeah, it's gonna be either one or two. One or two. And yeah, no other movie took that number one slot. So it goes to this movie. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which I've done a review of, is my number one movie of 2022. Sorry. That was fun. That was fun. You know, I thought about bringing someone on, but I was like, I'm not going to debate anybody about my list. If you want to debate in the comments under the video. Debate in my DMs about my number one movie of the year, and I'll show you why. But that's my number one spot. That's my number one spot. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up now. I have to. I'm gonna go see the new Whale movie. Well, it's a movie called The Whale, new A24 film, starring Brendan Fraser, where he's an overweight gay dude. I think I haven't seen a lot about this movie, to be honest with you. I keep seeing trailers pop up after I bought my ticket, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to see anything before I go see this movie. I've heard nothing but great things about it, so I'm gonna go see that today. That should be I should be reviewing that soon as well. I do want to actually review Violent Night and Avatar: The Way of Water soon, so be looking out for that. If not this year, it will be next year. I will more than likely be seeing you all next year. Most definitely. You'll get this episode very, very soon. So, shouts out again to each and every last one of you that listen to the podcast, that ask where the episodes are, new and old. I appreciate each and every last one of you. Like I said, I said it last year, I wanted 2022 to be more consistent for me, but schedule-wise, it just didn't work out. So, you know, next year should be a better year for the podcast. I do want to get more episodes turned down. And I want to have more guests on and bring guests back, of course. All that good stuff. But yeah, it's been another year of the Dom Trap. Like I said, it wasn't as consistent as I wanted it to be. But, you know, if I had a shot right now, I'd say here to next year being a little bit more consistent than this year. Once again, shout out to all the listeners, man. I wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for you all. Shout out to everyone that I said before. Y'all make this special. You know, I'm just here. I'm here doing it as a hobby, and you all listen and watch and give feedback, and it makes me happy. It makes me happy. I love y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Stay warm. Try not to get sick. Check on your family. Check on your friends. Even the strong ones. Be good people. Be really good people. Be nice to people. Treat everyone with a little bit of respect. Treat people how you'd like to be treated. And treat yourself how you would like to be treated. On top of that. But yes, we're going to go ahead and close out the year. Close it out with a list. And we'll be back next year, hopefully stronger than we were this year. So, this has been the Dom Trap. I am your host, your director, your editor, your creator, your DJ, your first, your last, and your everything. Love you all. Happy New Year. I'll see you all next year. And, yeah, I think that's it. It's been Dom. I'm signing off. See you all soon. Peace.